Well, BCV, I'm Harmony. I'm one of the pastors, and we are having a conversation today about doing Sabbath as a family. And this is Sarah Crawford. Sarah will tell a little bit about herself and her family in a minute, but we are going to explore what it looks like to do Sabbath as a family, particularly with young kids. And seeing as my kids are a bit older now, I thought I would ask someone who's living it right now in the middle of it and actually does the Sabbath. So, Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family, what you do. What's your life like? Give us a little snapshot.
Well, hi. So yes, like Harmony said, I'm Sarah Crawford and I have got three kids. They are, I have to remember their ages, 9 and 7 and 2. So yeah, life is pretty busy. And I live in East Belfast with my husband and three kids. And my husband and I are both teachers in secondary schools. So that is a whole lot of fun, especially at the minute. It's a little bit mad, to say the least, and busy, but it's really great that we love teaching teenagers. I have been going to BCV for a really long time now, maybe 16 years, I think.
Is it as long as that? Wow.
Yeah, I know it doesn't seem that long, but yeah, a really long time. And what else would you like to know about me? I oversee a discipleship ministry in church, which is called Gospel of Wholeness, which is really, really great. And even if that title interests you, that has nothing to do with Sabbath, you should email me and find out more about it. But yeah, so that is me. And I just feel like I should have this disclaimer, Harmony, at the beginning. Sabbath is really, really important to me, but I actually laughed out loud when Harmony asked me to talk about it because it's just really a roller coaster ride with children. And I would say we don't do it really all that well. We do it, but yeah, it's all a bit messy. So I just need that disclaimer at the start.
But I think that's what people want to know. Nobody wants to hear from the person who has it all perfectly together because we'll all just feel bad about ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm the person to listen to then.
So hopefully this will just help people along a little bit with family life and figuring out how to do it. So to start off, could you tell us a little bit about what you think the Sabbath actually is? What do you understand Sabbath to be?
Yeah, well, I think I understand Sabbath to be like a way that I can experience God's goodness for me and for my family. And I was really fortunate to grow up in a Christian home. And for me, Sunday was the Sabbath in our house. And it was really just a lot about what you couldn't do. Like you couldn't go to the shops, mostly because they didn't open back then in Northern Ireland on a Sunday. But you couldn't watch TV. You weren't allowed to use the phone. Really, if it was in any way enjoyable, in my opinion, as a child, I wasn't allowed to do it. And so as I have grown up, I have been really interested in what does Sabbath actually mean, because I found that notion of Sabbath quite unattractive and really made me question if I wanted to be a Christian, if I had to have a day not doing the stuff I liked. And I have come to the conclusion that I think Sabbath is like God's intention and part of creation, that he made a day for us to rest and a day where we could just be restored and renewed and set up for our week to be equipped with everything that we need physically, mentally, spiritually. And I think as well, for me, it's just really a day that, or like a period of time, isn't always a day, but Sabbath, I think of it as a way of connecting with Jesus. And yeah, so I suppose for me, that's the reason why it is so important. And actually, it's not about things I can't do, but actually it's about things that make me feel alive.
That's really good. So you've answered the what and the why a little bit there. How about the how? How on earth do you do this? Everyone is probably going with a 2-year-old. What on earth? How is there anything restful about that? So what does it actually look like?
Well, I think the first thing for me was, as a teacher, and I suppose Matt, my husband, as a teacher, our life, even before we had kids, is really dictated by school holidays. So we really live our life in a routine. And um, I, so I love a good routine. Um, and I would have said I had a really good work-life balance. But then when kids come along, you realize that you don't. And our first two kids, our oldest two, are just 18 months apart. And I don't really know what happened to us in the first 2 years of being parents, to be honest. It was just like survival. And I mean, I probably wouldn't even know if I met you back then, because life was just this constant blur. And um, I very quickly realized that tiredness and sleep is not what rest is. And so I think with kids, I have realized that I can rest and have a Sabbath, but still be tired, like need my sleep. Because at the minute I have a 2-year-old who really enjoys getting up during the night just for, why not? It's a bit of fun, you know? So I think how we practice it as a family, Matt and I, between us, we decided like what was it that we as individuals really enjoyed. I think so often when you become a parent, your life is just consumed about really what makes life the easiest thing. So if you need to watch another episode of Peppa Pig, you do it. Or if you need to read another story about Thomas the Tank Engine, you know, I don't enjoy Thomas the Tank Engine, but I know all those stories really well. So for Matt and I, like we worked out for us as individuals what we needed. And for a long period for me, I really needed a nap during the day, because during the week, when I was on maternity leave, I certainly couldn't nap. And now I'm back at work part-time. I can't have a nap. So to me, that is like a total treat. And I mean, I don't have a deep sleep. Sometimes I read a book, but I have an hour on my bed alone, and I can sleep if I want. And Matt, for him, he loves running in the mountains or at Cave Hill. So we just sort of tag team each other a bit. And I think the other thing for how it's really important for us as a family that we eat breakfast together. So it kind of means, like, people laugh at us, but so Matt goes for his 3-hour run in the morning. So sometimes he gets up at 5 a.m. and that brings him life. It wouldn't bring me life, but that's what he does. And he's home for breakfast at 8:30. And then, like, pre-COVID, we would have gone to church, and then we'd come home and I'd have my nap or my time alone upstairs. And then I think for us, just as a family, it's about doing something that we enjoy. And for us, like, Matt and I both love being outdoors. And as a result of that, our kids do, because I think your kids tend to just like what you like. Or we have made them be that way. So our kids don't mind the rain. We have really good waterproofs. So every Sabbath, whether it's a Saturday or a Sunday, we go out for a walk and our kids enjoy it. And I think the other thing for how we do it, like when Elliot and Martha, who are now 7 and 9, were small, like we could stop. And, you know, when you're out and about, it's really easy to talk about God in creation and like, what are we thankful for? And I realized that a part of Sabbath was like, it's not just holiday, you know, it's not like having a day of rest and fun, like God needs to be in it. And when they were wee, and even with Noah now, our youngest, who's 2, it's quite easy. Like I say to him, you know, what do you want to thank God for? And it will be like, if he's eating, he wants to thank God for food. If he's playing with a digger, it's a digger. But the older 2 now, sometimes they're like, nothing. And I just let that go. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I'm thankful for. So I think as a family, we, like Matt and I, have just decided like it's really important to us, and we just are trying to model that out to the kids. And I suppose we just prioritize. We have a bit of the day which works for us, that gives us life, and then with our kids, we take it week about who picks the fun activity. So like this weekend, our daughter, who's 7, she wanted us to watch a matinee movie because we can't go to the cinema. So that was what we all did, and we had popcorn. And the week before, Elliot, he wanted to go to Redburn for a walk, so we went to Redburn for a walk. So I think it's just about giving the kids ownership of it as well, and letting them pick something they enjoy. And then, but I think it's really important to just like invite God into it and let them be a part of that, rather than making them, like, we don't sit down and make them pray, because a 9-year-old's not going to do that, whereas a 2-year-old pretty much does it if I tell them to, you know.
And so there is some planning that goes into making it happen. It sounds like you've had some thought or preparation before the Sabbath begins. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think it's really funny. When I was thinking about chatting to you, Harmony, I thought, it's a wee bit like whenever you want your kids to have a nap, you plan your whole day around it, whether they need to be home at a certain time to get in their cot for a sleep, or you plan when you're going to be in the car so they fall asleep at the right point in their car seat.
Mhm.
And for us as a family, Sabbath is like that. We plan it at the start of the week, who's doing what, logistically, what are we committed to. And so our Sabbath most of the time at the minute is on a Sunday, but a few years ago it used to be on a Saturday, just because of other commitments we had. So we plan it depending on what the week looks like. Also, a big part of it for me, like, I do not do any housework or laundry on a Sabbath. I hate those things.
Fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
But that means that on a Friday, when I get home from work, I have to get the uniforms washed. So I'm not doing that on a Sunday. And some people think that's mad because they don't mind doing laundry. But for me, on a Sunday or my Sabbath, I don't want to do it. So there's plan in that. And I think, like, Matt, he is in charge of, like, we always have a nice breakfast. So he makes sure that in the shopping, we have that in the cupboard. So I think like anything, with a family, it's really nice to look at other people and think, oh, that works so well for them. It's so easy. It's so spontaneous. I don't think anything with kids is ever spontaneous. It always needs planned on a timetable. Like, your time is from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Then we'll all do this for 2 hours. Then dinner's at 5, but I think that makes it go really, really well. And it's actually, like, since, schools just went back at the end of August and COVID life at the moment, like, our house, I just feel like the month of September was beyond crazy. And we actually didn't have a Sabbath for the whole month, but it took us a month to realize that that was what was wrong. And we were both totally overwhelmed and stretched. And I was just like, I can't actually cope. And then I realized, oh yeah, here's what we've done for 4 years and we haven't done for a month. And like, in the past, like, 3 weeks, we've done it for the past 3 weekends again, and we're like different people, because it makes that much of a difference. And I think also for our kids, they really enjoy, like, on a Sabbath for our kids, we don't have rules other than, like, Matt and I don't use our phones, and our kids notice that because they're old enough to want our phones to play things on, and they can't. So rather than using the language of, like, you can't have my phone, I'm just like, oh, my phone's off today. And they actually now, like, they just know it is, and so they don't even ask for it. So it's small things.
So for someone who's looking to get started on Sabbath and has never done anything like that before, any other top tips from you in terms of actually getting going?
I think my top tips would be for you to work out what it is that you love doing as a person, like, not what your family loves, but what you love, and start there and plan that in, even if it's just for an hour. And then my other top tip is not to look at what other families do. So I think that families can make things look really exciting, and you think, oh, I'll try that, but, like, you actually hate going for a walk or getting that won't go well. So my top tip is, don't do what other people do what works for you. And the other thing that I would say, like, I think for me, it is so important to have no social media. So, like, you logistically might need your phone. And I actually, when I have my phone off, like you could still contact me through ringing me, but I'm not on social media, and WhatsApp is turned off because that just constant connection. I realized as a mum, it's actually rarely because people want to talk to me. It's about my kids or school apps or all that.
So true.
I just don't want that, and I don't want to think about it. So my top tip is turn it off. And actually in 24 hours, the world will keep spinning. And have a plan, prepare for your plan. And my other top tip, I would say, is just to give it a go. I think that so often there's something about us that is afraid, like if we stop, like we almost feel guilty sometimes as parents but there's so much to do, and we need to get organized or make some more meals, or I don't know, attend to this part of our child's development. And I just think that I think all those things are great, but I think that there's definitely something for us to be able to connect with God. And I think that actually Matt and I have noticed that on the Sabbath day, that is probably when we experience the most like God moments in our family, because at time, I don't think that the Holy Spirit is talking to us more. I just think we actually have space to listen. And I think that is my top tip, that actually like a lot of people want, like as parents, we're so eager for our kids to know God and to have a relationship with him. And actually, I think that they will if we do. And so Sabbath is a really easy, natural way in your house, I think, to just have space. So then you're like, for us, like Sabbath starts, like we just have a worship playlist. And so it's the same songs all the time. And the kids, they don't even know it, but they're singing, they know all of the words. And then they just will like ask questions, but it's not like this really holy moment. It's just like a natural, oh, that song's on, So I think you should just give it a go. Yeah, I think it could be life-changing for you.
I think it definitely could. And I think your top tips and your helpful advice is really, really good, Sarah. So thank you for sharing that. If you're wanting to start Sabbath and you have young kids, just try some of the stuff that Sarah's talking about and see how you get on. It doesn't have to be perfect. It probably won't be, right, Sarah? It probably won't be perfect. But the reality is that it makes a huge difference to the whole rhythm of your week, your month, your year, your life. It's worth giving it a try. So thank you, Sarah, for sharing your story with us, and for being honest and real about the reality of it. And thank you for sharing as well that it is definitely part of that encounter with God. I think that's really important. We do want our kids to know God, and we're so busy sometimes, and Sabbath does help us slow down and just pay attention. So if nothing else gets to you, just mull on that one for a while. What would it look like to slow down a bit with our families and actually have space to encounter God? Well, Sarah, thank you so much. And we'll maybe catch up with you at some time in the future when your kids get a bit older for the next chapter, right? Thanks.